All right, welcome to the Ironwood Gym. Today we're going to go over a few different exercises that you can do on this piece of equipment, the Glute-ham raise. And actually, we're going to go over quite a few exercises that you can do on this Glute-ham raise. The reason I want to do this video is because it seems like people balk at buying this piece, the Glute-ham raise, for their gym, for their home gym, for whether it's a commercial gym or even a strength and conditioning facility, such as at the college or high school levels. And I feel like they're really missing out on a lot because there is a lot that you can do with this piece of equipment. And it's not simply limited to glute ham raises or back extensions. There's a lot that you can do for the posterior chain. There's a lot that you can do for abs, and there's even some specialty exercises that you can do as well. So I want to hit all of that, probably 20 plus exercises that we're going to go over today. And hopefully you won't be set that this is just a piece that takes up way too much real estate in your gym, and that you'll be a little bit more open to having it, because it really is a very valuable piece of equipment. In fact, it was one of the top items that I wanted for my home gym. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, if you like the stuff you've been seeing here on this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button for the videos that you like as well. I also have an Instagram page and a Facebook page, Ironwood Strength. Check it out. There's different things that pop up on each page. It's not all the same stuff. So check each one of them out. If you like what you're seeing, hit that like button, follow the page, subscribe, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to start with the easiest first, things that you're going to think of most often, and then I will work to the things that maybe you're not thinking of. We're going to start with the glute ham raises, and this is one of this is a given, all right? Everyone should know that they can do these. This is one of the best things you can do for your hamstrings from a knee flexion standpoint. Now, I'm not going to go over a lot of technique on these exercises. I'm just going to basically show you what they are. And some of them I've done videos on in the past, so be sure to check those out. The glute ham raise is definitely one that I went into detail. But the basic glute ham raise, you're just going to get in here. Again, one of the best things you can do from a knee flexion standpoint for your hamstrings. You're just going to completely lay out and then pull yourself back up vertical. Okay. If you want to add weight, if that's too easy, then simply either grab a dumbbell or a plate, hold it on your chest, okay, not behind your head, just hold it on your chest. Hold it up tight, lay out, and now you're doing it with weight. The next step would be to do it with bands. Now this does add quite a bit of resistance. And if you're familiar with bands, it's going to add resistance as you go. So it's going to have the most resistance up at the top and the least down at the bottom. Still a valid exercise. Not really something I do a whole lot, but definitely add some variety into your training if you like to do a lot of glute ham raises. So take this. You could hold it on your chest, but usually just put it up around your neck. And that's glute ham raises with bands. So there's right there, basically, it's all a glute ham raise, but 3 different ways to utilize resistance for the glute ham raise. In addition to that, you could do, and I'm not going to show these, I'm probably going to do another video in the future detailing these a little bit more. These are kind of specialty glute ham raise exercises. One would be an eccentric dynamic. So in that case, you would be lowering the weight. When you get down to your parallel position, a partner would pull that weight away. You need to do it with a dumbbell, and then you would rapidly explode back up. Some things to watch out for there is losing your technique. You do have to utilize very good technique, but that is an exercise that I use with college level, Division I level sprinters with a lot of effectiveness for helping improve their hamstring strength and hamstring resiliency, more along the lines of what they needed as sprinters. Another one would be an isodynamic glute-ham raise. In that case, or before I get to that one, also on the eccentric, you could do slow eccentrics where you're going to either lower a heavy weight and have someone push you back up, or just lowering your body weight for a 5 count, 6 count, and then have your arms across your chest and have someone help guide you back up. The next one would be more isometric in nature. This would be an isodynamic glute-ham raise, where you are going to lower yourself at the parallel position. You would have someone pressing manual resistance, pressing down on you. You're trying to bend your knees as hard as possible. They're pressing down on you. After a certain amount of time, they would release their hands and you would spring back up. There's different ways of applying that as far as sets and reps goes. Again, that'll be, along with the eccentric dynamic, that'll be something I will detail in a future video. Another one would be an isomyometric, which there would be a pause in the middle of the range of motion. You could determine where you would pause at, but you would lower yourself to a certain point in the middle of the range of motion. You would hold that point for a certain amount of time, and then you would do your rep. Okay? You could either continue on down, or you could just pull yourself back up from that position. A little bit more advanced as far as glute-ham raises go, but definitely a valuable addition to your hamstring training. All right, so now we're going to look at back extensions, and this should be another given. All right, you should know that this exercise can easily be done on a glute-ham. You just got to set this back a little bit further than what you usually would. Some people call these hypers or hyper extensions. I don't like that name because I do not like the hyper extension part of it. I just want their spine to extend to parallel. That's really as far as you need to go without putting too much extra stress on the spine. So back extensions first, you would just get in here, face down, okay, hands back behind your head, and just come up until you're straight. You can mess with it a little bit. You can do more of a, where you're curling your spine to get more low back instead of your glutes, but it's still really just a back extension. That kind of depends on you and your goals. Now, the next thing would be to utilize weight. Okay, now if you're going to utilize weight on a back extension, it is better to put it back behind your head. And the reason why is because that will force you to use less weight. It is not really that hard to put weight on your chest and do back extensions. You can use a lot of weight, but then you're going to be limited. Once you get up to 1 or 2 plates, you're going to be limited by how much you can hold. If you put it on your back, it's going to be harder to handle as much weight. I've just got a 10-pound plate here. You can either have someone hand it to you, or you can lift it yourself. But you'll be limited in how much you can do as far as the weight goes, but you're going to be getting, because of the position of the weight, you're actually going to be getting a lot more out of it. So sit that right on your upper back. And that's your basic weighted back extensions. The next thing would be a single leg back extension. Now these get a little bit awkward, but so you got to kind of grip the pads with your feet and your legs, but that really shifts the focus to one side of your back. So it's a very good alternative to put in here. So for the single leg, you're going to put one leg in like normal, just like I did with my left leg, and then take the opposite leg and put it up over the top. And you're really not going to do anything with that opposite leg. Okay, so everything's going to come from the left side. And I would do my back extensions there. X number of reps to one side, X number of reps to the other. Definitely a good exercise to work on maybe imbalances or just unilateral type training where you want to work one side of the body. For the next thing would be a hold or an isometric back extension. Some people call these static back extensions. So in this case, ideally you'd want someone to hand you the weight, but you can do it on your own. Okay. So you would just hold at the top position. Again, put it on your back, come up, get in that fixed position, and just squeeze that back, squeeze your glutes at the same time, and it would be an isometric back extension. Now, the next one would be, let me grab a couple of light dumbbells here. This is a back extension and row. This is something I came up with quite a few years ago, back when the static core work or static abs and all those things kind of came up. I came up with two exercises. One was this one, the back extension and row, and you would just get into your back extension at the top position, stay nice and still, and then just do a row with your arms. Okay, the reason, and that's not very heavy at all, but the reason that's different than just a hold where you have the weight fixed and you're holding in one position is that the dumbbells, by moving them, it creates movement that your back has to resist. So instead of just holding a fixed position, which is still what you want to do, the movement of the dumbbells forces your back to work a little bit harder in holding that position. So excellent exercise for like a stabilization type exercise for your low back. The next thing would be Glute-ham deadlifts. And this is kind of an awkward exercise as far as the positioning of the weight. You could do it with dumbbells, as I'm going to do here, or you could do it with a barbell. Even a curl bar might be a good option for this. Like I said, the Glute-ham itself, the positioning of the weight with the Glute-ham itself can get a little bit awkward. But it would be an exercise that allows you to handle quite a bit of weight. So basically the weight's going to be on the ground. You're going to keep your arms straight, okay? And you can set them down between every rep if you like. Or you can just get down close and do it from there. Another thing you could do, especially if you're going to be using a bar, because obviously this wouldn't be great with weights on the end of the bar, because the bar is going to be elevated, you wouldn't get a very good range of motion. But you could elevate the Glute-ham, whether you just elevate the front end or whether you elevate the entire thing. It would allow you to have better range of motion. This isn't something I really do very much. I know some people do it more often, but it would be a good exercise to add more weight to that back extension. So the next one is something extremely simple. And this would probably be more of a warm-up exercise for most people, depending upon the strength level of who you're working with, but it'd be a reverse hyper. So you're just gonna get in here backwards. Not gonna handle any weight unless you had some ankle weights or something, but it would be pretty light. Hold on to the toe plate. Okay, good way to start your workout. Get some blood flowing in your back, get your back tractioned out a little bit, and that would be Glute-ham reverse hypers. So that's most of the posterior chain stuff. All right, so now let's take a look at some ab exercises that we can do here on the Glute-ham. And I just got a few different exercises and some variations of those exercises, and they're all excellent exercises for utilizing or for training and developing your abs. The first one is just your basic sit-up, all right? The basic sit-up on the Glute-ham bench. You can have your hands, first thing is you want to make sure your butt's kind of off the end of here. Anytime you do this, you don't want to be sitting all the way up on top. You want to hang over just a little bit. That kind of takes some of the stress off of your back while you're doing this and allows you to focus on your abs. So basic sit-up here, Glute-ham abs or Glute-ham sit-ups. You can do them with your arms across your chest or your hands back behind your head. You just lay back until about parallel to the ground and then do a sit-up. If you're putting your hands back behind your head, you want to make sure that you're not pulling on your head, that you just have your hands back there. It just kind of changes where the resistance is coming from a little bit. Now the next one is to do that with weight. And there's 3 different ways you can do this. So I'm going to show you all 3 of them. The first one, you're going to put the weight, either a dumbbell or a plate, it doesn't matter. that you're gonna put the weight on your chest. You don't want it way down here by your hips. The closer it is to your hips, the less it's doing. So you wanna hold that as high as you can up on your chest, and then it's just the same thing. You're just gonna lay back and do a sit-up. For the next one, I'm just changing the resistance here. I'm changing where the resistance is, and it significantly makes a difference in how hard my abs have to work. So, next one, I would put the weight back behind my head. Again, same thing as before. You don't want to make sure you're not pulling on your head or your neck. You just want to hold the dumbbell back there in position. You could also use a plate. A plate would be just fine for this. But hold that plate back there. Lay back. And then do your sit-up. So that's an excellent way to add resistance without actually having to hold a lot more weight. So now when you do that, it does add some stress to your back. So depending upon your situation, maybe you'd rather just hold it on your chest, but having it on your back is a good way to add resistance there. Now this next one I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to go very light on this. I'm just going to grab a 3-pound dumbbell. And this one is actually, if I changed the resistance significantly by moving it from my chest to behind my head, this one amplifies that even more. All right, so this is a great way to make the exercise a lot more difficult. And on this one, I want to put the weight, I'm probably getting out of the view of the camera here, but I'm going to put the weight directly overhead. And what this does is it takes moving the dumbbell up overhead. The further away from my hips, the harder my abs have to work. Okay, so if the resistance is way up here overhead, then my abs have to work a lot harder to be able to bring myself back up. Ideally what I'm looking for here is a straight line. When I'm up here, having a straight line from the dumbbell down to my hips. And I'm probably not going to do this perfect. I'll do the best I can on it, but typically as I lower down, my tendency is to bring the dumbbell out towards my face a little bit, which you don't really want to do. But the more you can keep it back to the back part of your head, the better. But just again, straight up overhead, make sure you're holding your abs and bracing your abs tight. Lay back. And that's your glute-ham sit-up, glute-ham ab with a dumbbell up overhead. That's a very, very good way to develop your abs. So the next one, we're going to go to the the next one would be bands, okay? And this one, just run a band around the band pegs. And I just put it here on this handle to hold it. You'd also have a partner hand it to you. But again, it's the same exercise. We're just changing the resistance. Just pull this up. You don't want to strangle yourself, so make sure you're holding on to it. But hold it right here in front of your neck. That one is really good because it takes stress off your back. Now, I know a lot of the guys now are talking about stretch-mediated hypertrophy, where you want the most resistance in the weakest position or in the stretched position, which will help out better with hypertrophy. True, but you don't always have to do that, all right? You're not always training for stretch-induced hypertrophy. And the benefit of this band is if your back is bothering you, and there was for a while, they would talk about, and I do buy into this. I like the thought process here, and that's why I don't do a ton of sit-ups for my ab work. But regardless, if you like to do sit-ups, the benefit of the band is that you're in the bottom position when you're laid back. That's your weakest position for your back. All right, that's the hardest position on your spine. So by using the band, that's the least amount of resistance in that position. And then you're gaining resistance on the way up. So you're still working to get your abs stronger, And if your back is bothering you, that's a good alternative to holding a weight. So the next one is kind of an extremely simple one. And I'm going to use a plate for it. And you could do this just like we did with the sit-ups. So let me show you first. This is just doing a hold. So generally you'd probably want to go a little bit heavier. So you'd have a partner hand the weight to you. Again, dumbbell, plate, med ball, whatever the case, whatever you want to hold. But just put it on your chest. Lay back and hold. Okay, and flex those abs. And don't let yourself go down, and don't let yourself lose your posture. So when you're here, you don't want to let yourself start to lose that posture in your spine and start to overextend. You want to keep your abs crunched and stay in a nice position without letting your back kind of, if you're here, you can see it, without letting your back bend backwards. You want to keep that kind of crunched and tight. Just like with the Glute-ham sit-ups or the Glute-ham abs, I can put that on my chest, I can hold it back behind my head, or I can hold it up overhead. All of those will be a good variation for just a hold, and you can hold it for time, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. A really heavy one might only be 10 seconds, okay? 30 seconds for a lighter one. So, but anywhere in that range, 10 to 30 seconds is great for developing isometric strength for your abs. So the next one, I'm going to go with 15s here. Again, just like the back extension and row, this is the ab and press. And the reason I claim this is because I started back in, I think it was like 2006. Jim Smith, the Diesel Crew, wrote an article about static ab training. And it was completely with bands. This exercise or any variation of it was not in there. But at that time, I thought about this exercise. Something in it spurred me to think it, and I've been doing it pretty much ever since. But I've only one time in all those years, I had never seen anyone do it before I did it. Only one time since 2006, and it's 2026 now. So in 20 years, only one time have I seen someone doing this exercise that I did not tell them to do it. So a lot of the teams that I worked with, I had them do this exercise. Not every team, but a lot of them. And so I'm not counting the players that I taught how to do it, or other lifters that I've taught how to do it. I'm only counting people that I didn't know. And only one time in 20 years did I see someone else doing this exercise. They actually did it with a barbell instead of dumbbells, but it's probably not the way I would do it. So dumbbells, you're gonna lay back, hold this position, press up over your shoulder, pause at the top. Okay. And the reason, again, it's not about building your bench press or building your dumbbell bench or getting an arm workout. Okay, the reason for the dumbbells, the reason for the press is that causes movement. Okay, and you have to resist that movement, because if I didn't stay tight and I just did it, you'd see my body move. Okay, so I have to hold my abs tight and stay in good position. Next thing, I don't want to press towards my hips. I want to press it up over my shoulders, because as I've stated before, the further that weight is from your hips. So if here's my shoulders, when I lay back, my hips are here. Okay, what is that? 2 feet? If that weight is 2 feet, that's a lot of resistance. If I'm pressing over my stomach, now it's only a foot because I'm pressing it forward. That's not as much resistance. All right, so the further I can keep those dumbbells horizontally away from my hips, the more resistance that I'm placing on my abs. So that's your basic ab exercises. All right, now we're gonna look at some exercises for the obliques. The obliques run along the side here of your abs. I'm not gonna get into all the anatomy part of it, but I think they get overlooked a lot, and they're actually very important. So this first exercise, I'm going to say straight up before I do this one, if you're not comfortable with this exercise, just don't do it. I like to train my obliques laterally, okay? I want to do things that I'm doing straight over the top, So I'll do side bends or holding a weight on one side where it forces me to stand up straight, and it kind of even makes you want to twist a little bit, so you have to resist that. Side bridge or side plank, those are all great exercises. But on this, I do a Glute-ham side raise. And this would be kind of similar to a dumbbell side bend, I guess. Not exactly. It's kind of awkward. You might not feel the most secure when you're doing this. So if you're not comfortable with it, just don't do it, all right? That's all I have to say on it. But I'm gonna show you how to do it. So when you get in here, you're gonna be on your side, and this is actually moved back quite a bit further. It's further than anything else that I do. But I want my hip up on top of this pad. When I get in, I want my bottom leg to be in the front. My top leg will be in the back. And I am using my feet when I do this to kind of hold myself in there. So from here, hands across your chest. You want to stretch more going down. You don't want to twist over. And you just want to come up to about parallel, maybe a little bit past parallel. And you can do it hands behind your head as well. Now, you can do it with weight. Again, it needs to be something that you're comfortable with doing, because, like I said, this can be an awkward exercise, and you don't want to get yourself in trouble on something that you're really not that familiar with. But here, just hold the weight on your chest. You could put it behind your head. I don't recommend it. Just put it on your chest. And that's doing it with weight. So it is precarious. It is a precarious exercise. Like I said 3 or 4 times now, if you're not comfortable with the exercise, don't do it. The next ones are more rotation. So I'm going to move this around a little bit, and then we'll come back and show 3 different exercises that you can do with rotation involved. All right, so rotational exercises for your obliques. Now, I'm not a big fan of rotation. I don't think it's a good thing for your spine. Your spine's not really meant to do that. Rotating from the hips is good. Rotating from the spine is not very good. So there's only a few of these that I have, and a couple of them are with med balls, and some of them, one's with a plate and one's with a band. But the first one is Russian twists. And Russian twists, most people, when they think of that, they're thinking of the one you sit on your butt and have your feet up off the ground. You're sitting at an angle and you just do a whole bunch of twists like this, rapid fire, a whole lot of reps, and it's really not doing anything for you. So those are kind of a waste of time. But this is also a Russian twist. You can do it on the floor, or you can do it here on the Glute-ham. And my mobility is not the best, but I'm going to go as far as you can. And you do want to limit your range of motion on this to good positions. So here, you're going to lay back. You're going to hold this right in front of your face. So you should be able to look through that hole without turning your head throughout the entire movement. So I'm going to lay back. Plate is in front of my face. If I want to sit up at a little bit of an angle, that's perfectly okay. But plate is locked in here. I'm going to rotate until I can't, and then come back. So what you don't want to do is, as I rotate over, reaching with my arms, okay? I don't want to reach with my arms. I want to treat all this as one unit and rotate everything together, okay? Rotate everything together, everything comes back together, and then stop in the middle. You can also do this with a band, and I'm only going to show you one side. You would have to have, you're going to have the band on the side that you're going to rotate to. So right now I've got it on the band peg that's on this side. If you don't have band pegs, you can just put it underneath the foot of the machine. So I'm going to rotate towards the camera, which is where the band is, all right? If I went the other way, it becomes a big mess. So I would do all my reps to this side, move the band over to the other band peg, and then do all my reps to that side. But it's the same basic thing. My left hand, being that I'm going to be working on my left side, goes in the band first. And then I'm going to grab with my other hand up at the top. Way back. Okay. So again, my mobility doesn't let me get all the way over, but I'm also being very strict with it, and that when I rotate over, my hips and back say no more. I'm not going to keep going with my shoulders just to get more range of motion. That's not helping. So once I get to that point where I can't go any further, I just stop and come back. Okay, so those are Russian twists, one with the plate, one with the band. All right, so now we're going to look at some exercises that you can do with a med ball. I actually don't have med balls. I don't use med balls, so I don't have them. But we're going to use a basketball that is not fully inflated. Not really relevant, but that's what we're going to use. The point here is that I'm trying to show you an exercise that you can do with rotation. You would need a partner for this, and they're going to toss the ball, and you're going to make this fluid. So you want to lay back a little bit. They toss the ball, one, pass it back, okay? And it should be all one motion. Okay? So that's that one. Now a variation of that is to go a lateral med ball toss with a 1, 2, 3 count. So now when I catch the ball, I'm going to go into that first rotation, 1, come back 2, 3, and now I throw it back. 1, 2, 3, throw it back. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. So with the med ball, that actually gets pretty good work on your abs, rotational work that you're working all your front abs as well as your obliques from a rotation standpoint. So it's definitely a good exercise for rotation that you can do here on the Glute-ham. All right, now these next two exercises are a little bit more specialized and not necessarily, a lot of people just don't need to do these, okay? But they are good exercises, and if you need them or you've had an injury that you have to work on that area, it could be very good. So this first one is actually, it's kind of like a reverse shrug. So I'm going to be hanging upside down and pulling my shoulder blades, if I'm here, I'm pulling my shoulder blades down, okay, down towards my hips. In this case, I'll be hanging, so now I'm going to pull my shoulder blades up towards my hips. So working, this is more for like your lower traps, because they help depress your shoulder blades. That's really what you're trying to do here. So I'm going to hang, just let myself hang freely here, hold the dumbbells, and then keeping my arms straight and just pulling my shoulder blades towards my hips. Okay, trying to pull them down. And that's, you can see it, it's kind of this area right in here where you'd be working. Now you're thinking, if you're looking there thinking, oh, that's rhomboids, lats, traps, middle traps. It's really not what you're working. You're working your lower traps. It's not really something that's going to put a lot of muscle mass on you. It's more for shoulder health. Okay. Now this last one more exercise to do. This last one is another one. Actually, it's more of a performance thing for powerlifters. Probably help them with their deadlift. But I'm going to demonstrate it here real quick. You're going to be standing, so you're not actually going to get in here. And this would be a thoracic extension. And you would use a safety squat bar, and you're going to be here, and you're going to let yourself roll over the top of this bench, and then you're going to arch your back. Okay? So that's kind of the movement that you're looking for. And this is a little bit awkward because you got to get in the safety squat bar. Instead of, you could take it out of the rack, which would be a lot easier. I'm just going to lift it up over my head and then get in there and show it. Okay, so you hold the safety squat bar just like normal and get in here. And I'm going to lay here. Now I'm just going to let it come forward and I'm going to arch back. And I'm doing all that work with my upper back, or with my thoracic, the area around my thoracic spine. Now the more I come up, the higher I sit. So if I sit way down here, I'm still doing good work. But if I can push myself up a little bit higher on the pad, I'm getting a little bit more range of motion. The issue is to go higher on the pad, you're flexing your spine a lot more. So it's not something you want to load up super heavy right away. Just handle it for volume, get used to the movement, start lower, okay? Start lower so it's a smaller range of motion. But that's going to help out, especially with the deadlift where you have to maintain that posture in your upper back as you're coming, as you go to lockout. You got that upper back rounded a little bit. Now it's going to help you straighten that out. And the more rigidity that you have when you start, even if several years ago they would teach, there were groups of powerlifters that would teach to start with a rounded upper back and an arched lower back, which is not the easiest thing to do. Not everyone's very good at it, but even starting with that rounded upper back, you still want everything to be rigid, because if when I start to pull, I start to break, my upper back starts to break even more. Even if I started here, okay, and I start to pull and that upper back starts to break more, I'm losing power. Everything that breaks, I lose power. So no matter how you start, whether it's a rounded upper back or an arched upper back, it needs to be rigid. There should be no movement. This exercise will help with that. It's going to help strengthen that upper back in a way that's similar to how your upper back is going to be stressed from your deadlifting. All right, so there you have it. That is over 20 exercises, counting the exercises and their variations, okay? Because the variation is essentially a whole new exercise. But it's over 20 exercises that I just showed you that you can do on this piece of equipment. So in that one little footprint that this takes up, even if you think you're limited on space, in that one footprint, you can get 20 plus exercises. And that's just based off what I showed you. So there's probably plenty more things out there. If you know some creative lifters or some creative coaches, chew their ear off on what they can do on a Glute-ham, because there's a lot of things that coaches and lifters do on this thing that I probably did not have in this video. I put in everything I could think of, and it's quite a big variety. So it's definitely not something that's wasting space because you can only do 1 or 2 exercises on it. I just gave you over 20, all right? This thing is worth it to have. This is the Elite FTS model. That's the one that I think is the best model out there for numerous reasons. The other models just do not compare when it really boils down to it. So, but regardless of which model you have, there is a lot of different things that you can do on this Glute-ham. So that is it for today. Again, like I said at the start of the video, check out the Facebook page, check out the Instagram page. I put different things on each one of them. But until next time, always be in the pursuit of strength.